Hi everyone, it's Paul from Alexandria Knife Sharpening and Laser Engraving. So, the day's finally here. I know I mentioned before that we were negotiating with a laser company to review a laser, and the laser's in, and we're going to get started doing our review. So the laser we're reviewing is a Creality Falcon2. It's a 22 watt laser. I'm really excited about it because for me, in my shop, a laser range that I didn't have. So I had a 40 watt laser. You guys have seen my little desktop laser. That's a 10 watt and a 2 watt 1064. This is a 22 watt laser. It's a cutting laser. What's really cool about 22 watt lasers is if you talk to people in the laser community, they say that that 20 watt range, many people say, is the sweet spot for lasers. It's great at engraving. It's great at cutting. So I'm really excited to see how this does compared to my other two lasers. So we're going to get started here. I'm going to do just a normal unpacking, let you guys know how long did it take a long time to unpack. Was it hard to put together? We'll see how it all goes. So we're going to see if we can get it all set up on here. Hopefully there's enough space for it. If there's not, I'll have to work something else out and find another spot. But let's get started and let's start unpacking this new laser from Creality. Let's get unpacking. All right, everybody. So here it is, the Creality Falcon 2 in its new home. So how was it unboxing and putting it together? As you can see, I'm not even showing you the unboxing, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it was super simple. Like, I literally had this laser together in maybe 10 minutes. It was so easy to put together. Like, I was like, why am I even going to bother showing the unboxing? Because it was that simple. I had to put the laser head on. I had to run one hose to the laser. I had to run a hose to the air assist, plug a couple wires in, and the only assembly I had to do was I had to put the feet on the laser to raise it up. And that's like it. That's all that comes to mind. Like, it was that easy. So it's all together and it's ready to go. I did have to cut a different platform for it because the piece of butcher block I had down there was just not big enough. It was just, I don't want to say it wasn't big enough. It was just barely big enough. The feet were hanging off a little bit, so I didn't want to risk that. So I had some plywood out back. I took the plywood, cut a double layer of plywood to put this on top of this toolbox that it's sitting on. That said, it took longer to cut the plywood than it did to put the laser together. So it was really very fast. The only thing I struggled with was actually the enclosure. The enclosure took me longer to put together than the laser, probably about double the amount of time. Mostly because it would really be easier as a two-person job. So I would get one side on and then it would pop off on the other side. You know, it wasn't difficult, but if you get the enclosure, which I highly recommend getting an enclosure for all of your lasers. I don't like to run any lasers open. I don't run anything open air in my shop because I'm in here all day. My dog's in here. I'm sharpening knives. Everything is vented to the outside in my shop. Honestly, I like the trend that we're seeing in lasers where they're either in enclosures or a lot of them are now going into hard enclosures, which I think is the absolute best. And I hope Creality goes in that direction in the future because I think all lasers should go that direction. Like, I think they should be in hard enclosures just because it's safer and it works better for venting them. Anything you see, and I do want to stress this too, because a lot of the lasers and things you'll see if you watch YouTube, the way they present it a lot of times, you would think you could run this thing in your house. And I'd say, unless you have a system like I have here where I vented it outside, you're probably not going to run this in your house. And yes, they do make air cleaners and units that you can vent them to that will send the exhaust through filters and carbon filters. I'm just not a fan. Like, I still think the very best thing you can do is vent the laser outside. So you're going to want it near a window, and it's not something you're going to set up and do in your kitchen. Just things to keep in mind. I wanted to show you something really cool that I just noticed. Talk about good timing. So here are the laser engravers from Creality. And just as I was mentioning in my opening video about the trend going to hard enclosures, look what we have from Creality. A Falcon Pro enclosed laser cutter. So there it is. They already have their first fully enclosed unit, which I think is just fantastic because this is the trend. So I did want to show you that that they already have one. So I would give that very strong consideration. You can do the tent type of thing like you see that I have, but these fully enclosed units, in my opinion, they just work better, and in my opinion, they are worth the extra money. So I just wanted to share that with all of you real quick because I saw that they do have that already, which is really quite awesome. So my plan of attack for this is the reason Creality reached out to me was because they thought I was in an interesting niche, which is knife sharpening. And so I think we should show how will this benefit sharpeners and people and knife makers and that realm that we're in. So I'm going to show you all the things that I use my lasers for, and we're going to put the Creality Falcon2 to the test. I like to engrave knives. I like to make custom cutting boards. And one of the newest things that I'm working on, because a lot of my clients are gardeners and we're getting ready to go into that spring season, they bring in Felco pruners all the time. I'm going to market custom made garden spikes to them with, with markings on them. Now these are kind of humorous ones. One says water me, but I have like 280 of these ready to go that have all, every kind of vegetable, herb, and plant you can think of. We're going to run those through the Creality Falcon2 and see how it does on cutting acrylic. Can it make me garden stakes? And that's my plan for it, to see how well it fits like my followers who are knife sharpeners and guys with knife businesses. How can we make this machine work for us? That's my goal. I'm going to get started with the most important one. Right now, I'm going to do material test on some stainless steel. I like to use stainless steel business cards as a test media because they do a really nice job for simulating the stainless steel on knives. And I'm just going to show you a couple of them back here that I've done before for my other lasers. And it's a great way for you to get an idea of, hey, how is this going to engrave? So this is a blue laser. It does say on their paperwork and stuff that it can engrave metals. So we'll have to see how it does. Typically, I use a 1064 infrared laser when I'm doing metals. But let's see what this can do, because this is a lot stronger than my 2-watt 1064. So we'll see what it can do. And I also do have Surmark spray and Brilliance spray, and we can see how they do with this laser too, because there are things that you can use like special sprays like those, like Surmark, to engrave metal too with regular diode lasers. So let's get started, and we'll do a material test on a stainless steel, very thick business card and see how that comes out. Okay, so just did 4 engraving tests. The first 2 were just the laser's power, no assistance at all from anything else. The bottom 2, I used what's called Brilliance spray, and this laser is super powerful. Now, first off, I didn't think a 450 nanometer 22 watt laser could mark metal. It's not only marking it, I mean, look at it's even warping the back. Like, it's super powerful. So you can see the writing coming through on the back side of this business card. And this is a very thick stainless steel business card. I use these as tests for doing knife engravings. But we still have to dial this down some. It's still too powerful. So I don't want to see it warping and bending the metal like that. But you can see we're pretty close. Our last setting here was 70 power, 800 millimeters a second down at the bottom. We still have a nice black engraving. That was using Brilliance spray. But I still see a little bit of distortion on the back, and I don't want to see it punching all the way through like that. So I'm gonna probably double that and see what comes out on the next one. But very promising, Very nice black engraving with the brilliance spray, and looking good, and blown away by the power. Okay, so back doing some more engraving testing. I'm now going to do a 3000 speed at 50% power test on another aluminum business card. This time, no brilliance spray, just the laser power by itself, and let's see how it does. So I am in light burn here. You can see I picked a script. This is one that I like a lot. This is a painter script. We're going to hit our preview up here, and it should take 48 seconds to do this engraving. We have our enclosure in here. We're going to zip it up. I'm starting my exhaust system, although there won't be much to exhaust with the metal business card. And let's get started. All right, so let's hit start, and we are underway. I added a light to the inside of the enclosure to help us see a little bit better. That seems to be helping. We can see the engraving pretty well. So I think I was going way too hot in the beginning, which is a pretty common mistake. A lot of times when I'm lasering things, they take far less power than I think they're going to take, and it's a mistake I've made many times. And I would just warn you that if you're new to lasers, a lot of times things don't take extreme amounts of power. And one of the biggest mistakes I made early on was just overpowering engravings and doing a lot of overburning of things. So I think we're done. Okay, so here's our engraving on the stainless steel business card. And you can see that's a nice black engraving. And this was with no aids. So no brilliance spray, no Surmark spray, no nothing. Just the Creality Falcon2 by itself. And you'll see here also no distortion at all this time. So before I was way overpowering this piece, and you can see it did a really great job on that engraving. Wow. So, I mean, that's something I just didn't know. I really didn't know that you could engrave metal with a 450 watt blue laser, but I guess when you start getting up in that 22 watt range, you can. But you can see that came out really nice. That's I think that's called painter script. That's one I like to use a lot for knife engravings. So pretty happy with that. You know, is it super, super black? No, it's not. But like I said, this isn't even dialed in perfectly yet. So I could definitely run a test grid at this setting, and I'm sure probably get that even darker. But that's quite good. So really happy to see that. It did a nice job on that aluminum business card. All right, so let's move on. Okay, so there's the two knife engravings. The one on the right was done with just the laser's power. That was at 3000 speed at 60% power, so we could even go more. And the one on the left was done just a little bit less. It was 3000 at 50 using Surmark spray. And you'll notice it's a little bit darker black. And let's take a look at the back of the knife. And everything there looks good. It didn't punch through, didn't distort it. So even that wasn't too hot. So that's looking really good. And you can see I like to keep old knives around for doing test engravings and things on. This is actually a test engraving for a wedding knife that someone sent me a graphic for. So that's what that's there for. But whenever I'm at flea markets or estate sales and stuff, I will buy old knives a lot of times just to use them for test engravings. All right, so let's do a quick summary of where we're at so far. So this is going to be the end of video number 1. And I just want to go over a couple of my likes and dislikes and kind of let you know how things are going with this review. So the hardest thing for me with this review has been learning the software. Now, that's not a real knock on the laser at all. The laser has two choices of software. You can use Lightburn, which is pretty much the industry standard when it comes to laser engravers, or you can use a program called GRBL. I've checked out both programs, And I wasn't familiar with either of them because my other two lasers, their proprietary software they come with has worked really well for what I do. So the hardest thing for me to overcome was the learning of Lightburn. And I'll just put it to you this way. It's a super awesome and amazing program. And it's really robust and can do a lot of things. My best way I can explain it is just from my knowledge of photography. It's kind of like trying to learn Photoshop. There's just tons and tons of features and lots of things that it's capable of doing. And for some people, they just like to use something like Lightroom, which is a lot more simpler and doesn't have all the features that Photoshop has. That's kind of how I feel about Lightburn at the moment. But it's really starting to grow on me because it really does do some very, very cool things. The other program is GRBL, and I'll touch on that just for a quick second. GRBL is completely free. Lightburn is not, but it's not real expensive. Once you buy it once, you can keep using it as long as you want, unless you want updates to it. Then they do ask for you to renew yearly, but it's a pretty reasonable price. I think it's around $70 a year for this particular style of laser. And you get a free month's use when you start out using it. GRBL is completely a free program. The only issue with GRBL is its only purpose is to run the laser. So whatever you're designing, engraving, you have to do in some other program. Now, there's free programs out there like Inkscape where you can design vector graphics and do kinds of stuff like that. Then you have to bring that file into here and then use GRBL to burn it on there. Now, what's the downside? The downside is if you have to make changes, easy changes to that file, you have to go all the way back in, resave the file, and then bring it to the machine somehow. That's the beauty of things like Lightburn. Lightburn, you can make those adjustments to your file right in the same program. So it's not only able to edit graphics and do things to your graphics and do text and do those simple things, but it also controls your laser. Now, let's talk about so far things I don't like about this laser. Right now, there's only really one thing that really stands out that kind of bugs me, and that would be this thing right here. Now, I don't want to complain too much about it because it's actually a good thing that it has it. It's an emergency shutoff switch. What I don't like about it is the location. I have probably bumped this thing at least 10 times, if not more, putting things in the laser, trying to adjust things in the laser. So with this style laser, a lot of times you are kind of moving things around on the bed, or at least I am, trying to get things situated right before I engrave them. And inevitably, I often have come in here and accidentally hit this thing and turn this off. And it's a pressure sensitive button, so it doesn't take much to turn it off. As you can see, I just turned it off. And then you just twist it to turn it back on. But when you do, it resets the laser and it kind of starts moving and doing all the stuff it does when you turn it on. So that would be my only thing that I would do if I was Creality. I would consider moving this to a different location. If you move it to this side, the left-handed people are probably going to complain. But I think maybe on the side might be a better spot for the emergency shutoff. I don't want to say it shouldn't have one. I'm glad that it does, especially if you had a fire or anything. You want to be able to hit that and just turn the machine off. But I just do not love the location of it because I accidentally hit it. But other than that, so far, it's been great. It's been impressive. And my only other gripe is that I'm having to learn new software. But hey, I probably should have been learning Lightburn long ago anyway. So it's helping me learn something new. And so far, it's going great. So stay tuned. There'll be a part 2 coming out soon. And I hope you're enjoying this review of the Creality Falcon 2 laser. All right, one quick reminder for everybody. Creality was kind enough to send me a discount code for the followers on my channel. I will put that in the description beneath the YouTube video. If you're not sure where that is, if you look up top, usually you'll see a thing that says more, and if you click that, it expands all the stuff that we as YouTube creators write in the descriptions of videos that half the time people don't read. But if you're interested in this laser, you want to go read that because it'll get you 15% off. And there's also a link for those in the US to the US based shipping and store for Creality. They have ones all around the world. But if you're here in the US, you want to click the US based one. All right, so that's it. Don't forget those are there, and that's how to find them if you're interested in Creality Falcon 2 stuff. Have a great day, everyone.